Hello. Really great work on submitting these two pieces of writing as your first submissions. It's a really good way to improve your writing and to get some personalised feedback. So looking at some areas that maybe you haven't recognised before when you've been writing, and that should really help you to improve your level. Good. Okay, so the topic that you had first was doing enjoyable activities with a child can develop better skills and imagination than reading. To what extent do you agree? Okay, so this is a to what extent essay. Let's have a look at what you've got. So children can be taught with various methods like reading books. However, it is said that some other method of learning, such as playing delightful activity, may be more beneficial. I state that various games and plays are available which can be used to increase children's imagination and cognitive skills more than just reading books. Okay, so let's look at that a little bit more closely. Children can be taught with various methods, like reading books. Okay, good. However, it said that some other methods of learning, so we need an S on the end of method. So methods of learning, such as playing. This one here, we would, instead of delightful, which is it's more of a word that's similar to lovely, okay, and it's more of an opinion. So here we want to be more factual and say things like playing fun or doing fun activities or doing engaging activities may be more beneficial. Okay, so can be taught with various methods like reading books. However, it said that some other method of learning. Okay, so it seems that in this first sentence that you're saying that there is a difference in these methods. One side is that we have the methods of reading books, and the other side is that we have more fun activities. So what I would say here is to maybe just highlight that a little bit about the reading books being a more traditional method. Okay. So it might be that you say children are often taught with traditional methods like reading. However, it is said that some other methods of learning, such as playing or doing, better here with doing activities, so doing fun activities, may be more beneficial. Okay. Here, I believe, instead of I state, is better here because we're showing your opinion. Instead of I state is very similar to I say or I outline. What we want to show is that this is your opinion. So I believe that various games and plays, so various games and activities, because plays has a different meaning. Plays is theatre productions. Okay, so I say that various games and activities are available which can be used to increase children's imagination and cognitive skills more than just reading books. Okay. At this last part, more than just reading books, I would use an adverb here, so more, so to learn effectively, for example, more effectively than just reading books. Okay, so good. Although reading books is the most traditional way of teaching children, good. So here you've outlined the traditional part, which is really good. I would just add that into your introduction as well to show that you acknowledge that it's something that's been done for a long time. Although reading books with an S is the most traditional way of teaching children, and it has some advantages, aim for plays and games may be more effective. Okay, so instead of aimful, because this one isn't a word in English, we could say goal focused or objective focused activities and games may be more effective. Okay. This is because children pay attention to games more, so instead of the to games more, and it will not be as boring as reading books for them. Okay. For example, it is much easier to memorize the name of the capital cities of different countries by playing a dedicated video game that gives you point whenever you tell the correct city name, rather than reading a list of capital cities to memorize. Okay, good. It's much easier to memorize the name of the capital cities of different countries by playing a dedicated video game that gives you points whenever you use the correct city name, rather than reading a list of capital cities to memorize. No it at the end, to memorize, full stop. Good, well done. Therefore, doing enjoyable activities, so we do an activity instead of play an activity. So therefore, doing enjoyable activities may help to learn more by attracting children and teaching them while entertaining them simultaneously. Okay, good. So may help them to learn more. For this part where you've put learn more, I would take this opportunity to use the words from the question. Okay, so to develop better skills. So doing enjoyable activities may help them to develop better skills. As they are engaging and entertaining, but also factual, for example, but also study aids. Okay. Secondly, some skills like interpersonal skills and teamwork activity cannot be learned through reading. Okay. So some skills like interpersonal. Interpersonal has to come with the word skills. Okay, so I would remove the word skills and say development of interpersonal skills and teamwork cannot be learned through reading. Okay, when children do sports and play, so do group activities, they learn, instead of they will learn, they learn how to interact with others and do competition. Okay, for instance, a child who participates with an S because it's present tense, participates in the football team in the school's football team, so possessive, school apostrophe S football team, will find friends, learn to connect with them, and obtain the skill of keeping himself safe against his rivals, which may not be learnt from simply reading a book. Okay, so a few changes to word order there. First of all, take out after a while, and then secondly, this part, so simply reading a book instead of reading simply a book. Simply reading a book. Consequently, using some kinds of enjoyable activities, so some kinds of enjoyable activities, can enhance some crucial skills in children. Okay, good. Alright then. Good, so this paragraph up here is about the typical study skills, so memorizing, such as with the capital cities, and this one is more about practical skills like interpersonal skills and teamwork, so communication with other people and teamwork skills. Good. Okay. To conclude, from the explained ideas, despite reading books being a fruitful task for children, doing entertaining activities with some educational intent. So doing entertaining activities with an educational target can develop some valuable skills in children which may not be attainable by reading books. Okay, good. What I would say is just in your paragraph, I would give a little bit more of your opinion here, because at the moment this is very, very similar to what you've written in your introduction, and it outlines really what is said in the question. So I would just add a little bit in there to personalize it a bit and give your own opinion a little bit more about what you think about this. Okay, so it could be that you say that you're a firm believer that learning through entertaining activities is much more successful, and that other methods of learning are outdated and irrelevant nowadays. Okay, so just give it a bit of a personal spin in your conclusion so that the examiner is left on a high point of your writing there, and also it differentiates your conclusion from your introduction, gives it more of a sense of closure to your essay. Okay, but well done on this one. Like I said, it's a good piece of writing. A couple of examples of when we can change the word order, so we've been through those ones, and these are mainly just to make your English sound more fluent in places. So where we've put a word in the wrong place or used a slightly odd word order, we've changed those ones. In terms of your coherence, I would say the structure is good, so introduction, the main part, and then the conclusion. I would also say that possibly you could make your main parts of your essay slightly clearer at the beginning of them. So to give an example of that, saying something like on the one hand, on the other hand. It's not really applicable in this one, but those are the kind of signposts that I'm talking about. You've got a good one here, which is secondly. I would maybe use something like something just to make your key points of each paragraph really clear. So this paragraph is more about kind of study skills and memorizing and so on. So I would outline that for the examiner there, whereas this paragraph is more about practical skills, communication and teamwork. So I would again make that quite clear here in your opening sentence. So secondly, development of practical skills like interpersonal skills and teamwork cannot be learned through reading. Okay, so then you're really making it clear that your first paragraph here is about study skills and abilities, and your second one is more about the practical side of development as well, and then your conclusion at the end. But yeah, like I said, a good piece of writing. Let's have a look at your other piece as well. So this is your second piece of writing, which is really kind of along the same theme as your first one. And the question was, some people think that schools have to be more entertaining, while others think that their sole purpose is to educate. Which do you agree with? Okay, so curriculum of schools always has been a challenging issue nearly in all societies. Some believe that students should just be educated there, while others argue that schools' program should be entertaining as well. I believe that pupils need to have entertaining programs in addition to educational lessons in schools. Okay, good. So this one, for the first word we need plural. So curriculums in schools have always been, so changing the word order a little, have always been a challenging issue in societies, okay, or for societies. Some believe that students should be educated there. So here, some believe that students should should only be educated there, because in the question we've got their sole purpose is to educate, so should only be educated there, while others argue that that school programs instead of school programs should be entertaining as well. Good. I believe that pupils need to have entertaining programs in addition to educational lessons in schools. Okay, now we've got program here, just here, so I would suggest using a synonym in the next sentence. Okay, so I believe that pupils need to have entertaining courses, for example, or entertaining activities, as well as, in addition to educational lessons in schools. Okay, good. Firstly, good use of signposting there. Not all students require detailed, complex educational lessons in their future. To be explained more, some of the students want to work as simple clerk work or any blue-collar job, and they just need some basic sciences useful in ordinary life. So why they should spend their whole time on educational matters which are sometimes boring. Okay, so not all students require detailed, complex educational lessons. Okay, when we have a list of adjectives like this, we need to have commas after them. So detailed, comma, complex, comma, educational lessons in their future. To explain more, some of the students want to work I would change the word order here again and say want to work in blue-collar jobs, such as clerks or workers. Okay, so instead of colour, it's collar, collar. Okay. So students want to work in blue-collar jobs, such as I would be careful with your examples here and make them a little bit more specific. So, such as employees in factories, or what do you mean by clerk here? Do you mean secretaries, perhaps, or administrators? So make that really clear. And they just need some basic sciences useful in ordinary life. So, and they just need some basic science, comma. So why should they, instead of they should, why should they spend their whole time on educational matters which are sometimes boring? Okay, good. So good use of a question there. For instance, consider a high school student who is obliged to work on difficult mathematics equations with an S, when he is going to be a painter in the near future. Okay. Therefore, devoting time to only educational topics at school seems to be unreasonable, and it would be better to add some entertaining activities to their curriculums. Okay. Yeah, I see your argument here. It's a good argument too that some of the educational topics that you go through are not necessarily useful. However, I would say that this has slightly missed the main point of the question, and we've gone a little bit further into why we study so many subjects when we don't need them all possibly in employment, rather than should we be studying or being entertained. Okay, so although it is described well, I would say that it's just slightly missed the main point of the question, and that there are key points that might be more relevant to this question here. So you risk having the examiner say that maybe you've gone a little bit too far from the question. It could be that you bring this back to the key question by saying that incorporating both entertaining and educational activities caters for all abilities in schools. So instead of doing just really difficult educational studying, there's kind of both sides for all levels of student. That could be a way of possibly bringing it back to the main question. Okay, let's look at your next one. Secondly, without amusing schedule. Now, amusing here means funny, so kind of comic. So we would need to use a different one here. So without entertaining schedules, going to school would be boring for pupils, and after a while they would be tired and even sometimes upset. This is because they spend 1/3 of, instead of round the clock, so they spend 1/3 of their time at school, and if they just do educational tasks instead of chores, educational tasks, chores is a different meaning. It means housework. Okay, jobs that we have to do around the house. So if they just do educational tasks, they will be exhausted and lose their energy to follow their education. For example, learning and studying mathematics, chemistry and physics from morning to afternoon every day, every week is really monotonous and boring. Consequently, to keep students' minds fresh and their body energetic requires, with an S, having some engaging, so remember what we said about delightful in the previous essay, some engaging activities in school. Good, okay, well done. So this point is really good, that you've really tackled the question of entertaining or education as the main purpose. So I would say that this second paragraph is better than the first paragraph in terms of the key point here. Okay. To sum up, it is advisable to add enjoyable programs to curriculum of schools with intent of helping students to be more energetic and not be tired. Okay. Good. It is advisable to add enjoyable programs to curriculum of schools with the intent of helping students be more energetic and not be tired. Okay, good. So it's a good conclusion. However, it is very short and it is lacking your own opinion here. Just like in the previous essay, outlining your own opinion in a really clear way will just add to that conclusion a little bit, give it a bit more of a personal element instead of it seeming like your conclusion is rushed. Okay, and that you've kind of just written the sentence to finish the essay. It'd be good here to have a little bit about your own opinion. So which one do you support? So it's quite clear from the points that you support having more entertaining activities, but why do you support that? For you, why is that important? Okay, so it's a good way to just to round off your essay at the end and leave a lasting impression on the examiner. But yeah, I would say 2 good pieces of writing. The key things that have come out here are those few areas where the word order is slightly wrong. So have a look at those corrections, and when you're writing again, next time you do some writing, just check for those to see if you've made the same mistakes. Okay, and always make sure that your examples are the best examples for the question. Okay, so normally there'd be a range of different points that you could talk about, but it's always best to choose the ones that are the strongest points. I would argue at the moment this point in your first paragraph is not that strong. However, in your second paragraph, that point is really good. It really adheres to the question. So always be looking for points like that second one that really cover the question and cover the key points of that question. But yeah, good work on these. Well done.